Okay, recording started.
Okay, the time is 5:15 on November 9th, 2020, and I would like to call this meeting of the Sustainability Commission to order. In the interest of the public health and safety and pursuant of the Governor's Executive Order N2920, members of the Sustainability Commission and staff are participating in this meeting by teleconference. In accordance with Executive Order, the public may view this meeting online, but not in conference room C101 in Building A at the City Hall, Chula Vista, California. The city launched a virtual commenting portal, eComment, that allows residents to comment and participate in the meeting from their own homes. You may find the link to eComment at www.chulavistaca.gov/virtual-meetings. Your comments must be received before I call to close the commenting period in order to be considered. After the commenting period is closed, I will announce a brief pause to allow the commissioners time to read any comments that have been received. If you have difficulty or need assistance with e-comment during the meeting, please call 619-921-5980 and Economic Development Department staff will assist you. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Commissioners Legaspi,
She needs to unmute herself.
Present.
Or he needs to.
Commissioner Richardson,
Present.
Commissioner Guevara-Gluyas,
Present.
Commissioner Corrigan,
Present.
Commissioner Rodriguez,
Present.
Commissioner Baugh,
Present.
and Chair Mathias.
Present. Okay, thank you. The first order of business is the consent calendar. I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on items in the consent calendar. Commissioners, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear.
So while we wait, I just wanted to make sure that it's noted that Commissioner Corrigan was not absent in September. It's actually August. And we have that noted and for the record, and also a correction that Commissioner Legaspi had brought up to my attention earlier on a report he gave rather than Commissioner Richardson.
And that was on the minutes from last month, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, I'm not seeing any comments. So is there a motion to approve the items on the consent calendar with the changes that Manuel mentioned?
Should I assume that that means all three are one motion, or is there separate motions?
All three are one.
I'll move adoption of the consent calendar.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so I have motion by Richardson, Commissioner Richardson, and second by Legaspi. Was that you? Okay.
Yes.
Yasmin, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
It's actually, I will do it as secretary, and it's,
Okay.
I'll start conducting the vote. It's Commissioner Legaspi,
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson,
Yes.
Commissioner Guevara Guyas,
Yes.
Commissioner Corrigan,
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez,
Aye.
Commissioner Baugh,
Aye.
and Chair Mathias.
Aye.
Vote passes.
Thank you. Okay, so public comments. Public comments is a section in which the agenda for members of the public to address the board on items that are not listed in an agenda. I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final public comments. Commissioners, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure the new comments appear.
Time's up.
Not seeing any comments.
Actually, we do have one comment, which is unrelated to business from the commission, in regards to a contract to South Bay Community Services. So, staff could direct this resident to the appropriate staff in the city.
Okay, do I continue?
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is item number 4 under informational items. Report on Senate Bill 1383, short-lived climate pollutants, organic waste, methane emissions reductions. Laura, Chapter 395, Statutes of 2016, Regulations Requirement and Impact to Current Chula Vista Waste Collection Programs. Does staff have a presentation?
Yes, we do. Can somebody load it, please? So good afternoon. My name is Manuel Medrano. I'm the Environmental Services Manager for the City of Chula Vista. Today's presentation will be, as mentioned by the chair, on Senate Bill 1383, which is deemed as the most significant waste reduction mandate to be adopted in California in the last 30 years. Some have commented that this is perhaps even the most impactful throughout the country because of how prescriptive it is on jurisdictions, and for good reason, as you'll see the presentation you'll understand. Senate Bill 1383 or SB 1383 requires that the state, and that's important to mention, that the state reduce organic waste disposal by 75% by 2025. In other words, the state must reduce organic waste disposal by 20 million tons by 2025. This law also requires that the state increase edible food recovery by 20% by 2025, and also has a significant policy and legal implications for the state itself and for local governments like the city of Chula Vista. SB 1383 establishes a statewide target, and that's why I mentioned earlier it was important to mention, because it's a statewide target, not a jurisdiction organic waste recycling target. Given that that is a state target, the regulation requires a lot more prescriptive approach, different than a former Assembly Bill 939, which required 50% of disposal reduction to California landfills, which we were all required to comply with. So the California Department of Resources, Recycling and Recovery, also known as CalRecycle, is in the process of adopting regulations to impose these requirements. They're still working on these regulations. They were due by the end of 2019, they did not reach that. The state did not reach that goal, but they're still working on them, and hopefully by the end of this year, they'll be ready to be adopted and final. So this makes the regulation like other environmental quality regulation, where regulated entities, i.e. jurisdictions like us, are required to implement specific actions rather than set specific targets or goals. So for example, AB 32 established a greenhouse gas reduction target for the whole state, and implementing cap and trade regulations require businesses to take specific actions. So the individual businesses are not required to achieve the specific target. It's a statewide goal. So quick overview of the presentation. I'll give a quick background and context of SB 1383 and why California passed this law, the requirements of this law, what we'll mention on what we have to do as a local jurisdiction, like establish and provide organic waste reduction or organic waste collection for all residents and businesses, an edible food recovery program, conduct outreach and education, perform capacity planning to make sure we're all ready for SB 1383, procure recycled organic waste products like compost, mulch, and renewable gas, inspect and enforce compliance, and maintain accurate and timely records to provide to the state as reports are due. Can we go to the next slide? So when we're talking about organic waste for the purposes of SB 1383, we are referring to green yard waste or garden waste, as we already have that program here in Chula Vista. Wood waste, which is also acceptable in our program as long as it's clean wood. And this is the same for this new program. But now we're adding food waste and also food soil paper as well, and food soil cardboard if needed. So this organic waste comprises 2/3 of our waste stream here in California, and that's one of the reasons, obviously, that we have to that the state decided that we need to definitely address this, and it's important. Also, again, food waste alone is the largest waste stream in California. And according to CalRecycle's last waste characterization study, food waste comprised 18% of the waste stream. And now this law requires that we recover 20% of this food that is currently disposed, edible food that's currently disposed. Although we don't know what that 20% is yet, CalRecycle is conducting a new waste characterization study, and we'll be taking a closer look at what we have in our waste stream as it regards to edible food. And then results will determine how much we have to really save from being landfilled, because as you know, you can see in the screen there, food insecurity is pretty rampant here in California, and these are numbers prior to the pandemic, which show that 1 in 5 children go hungry every night. I'm sure that, and it's probably documented somewhere. I don't have those numbers, but it has been exacerbated by the pandemic. And for every 2 tons, just an example, every 2 tons of food that's rescued from landfills, it's equivalent to taking off 1 car off the road for a whole year. This is per the EPA website and information there. Can we go to the next slide, please? So how climate change negatively impacts California? It's obviously this group is well in tune into what's going on. Landfilling organic waste leads to what's known as the anaerobic breakdown of the material, which creates methane. And landfills in California are responsible for over 20%, a little over 20% of the state's methane emissions. And landfills happen to be the largest producer of methane, which is 72% more potent than carbon dioxide, and it only has a 20-year lifespan. So as we know, climate change shows that these effects are localized, and the environmental impacts are also localized. And as the state has determined that it's because of this disposing of organic waste in landfills. It's a significant source of local air quality pollutants, and these pollutants have an immediate negative impact on our air and in our community, which causes respiratory issues and hospitalizations. So diverting organic waste from to recycling, like composting, can significantly reduce these local air quality emissions. We're also starting to see the effects of climate change in our cities and throughout our counties, throughout California, throughout the country and the world. Obviously, longer droughts, warmer temperatures are drying our forest. Cyclical droughts are pretty much here. Much stronger, bigger storms, and coastal erosions due to rising sea level. So as you can see there in the slide, the effects on the farming and the agriculture industry and the central for all the economic impacts that they created. So that's why the state enacted Senate Bill 1383, which is designed to reduce the global warming gases like methane, which are most potent and are short-lived. And so reducing this gas now through actions like organic waste recycling will significantly reduce emissions and will reduce the impacts on climate change in our lifetime. Can we go to the next slide, please? So key requirements, again, Senate SB 1383 establishes an aggressive organic waste reduction target, requires us to reduce organic waste disposed in landfills by 50%. There was a first target was 50% by 2020, 75% by 2025. Unfortunately, we did not reach that target, the statewide target of 50% by 2020. And so in an additional part of this reduction target, the legislature directed CalRecycle to also add the edible food requirement that, as I mentioned earlier, is 20% by 2025. And that this food recovery goal is actually very unique to other laws throughout the United States and throughout the world. A lot of the other countries have had this type of law or has this type of law in the books don't usually are really considering recovering food, which is very important. Can we go to the next slide? So key implementation dates. That's why we're here tonight, to mention that this is coming at us and rather quickly. There are some milestones that we have to make sure we comply with. This law has targets and requirements for CalRecycle to adopt regulations. So the regulations were developed in like I mentioned earlier, the law was passed in 2016. Regulations were adopted or created a little later after that. CalRecycle conducted 2 years of informal hearings with local governments. So in 2018, when this law it was developed. It kicked off a formal regulation rulemaking, and it's supposed to conclude by the end of this year. So we're all hoping that that CalRecycle is able to adopt the regulation before then. But key regulation in this law is not expected to change that much. Just might be the last review of the Office of Legal Review might just clean up some language, but that's about it. It's going to pretty much stay the same. So once the regulation is enforceable, we as jurisdictions must adopt and have programs in place by January 1st, 2022. So that's important to mention because it pretty much gives us a year to roll this program out. But I think I'm confident that we could do this. And so to meet the deadline, we need to start planning, and that's what we're doing now. Sorry, I apologize. I didn't mention that Michael Simonson from Republic Services is also present here, and towards the end of the presentation is here to just give a little bit of an update of how we're working together to plan for this program, for these program changes. So can we go to the next slide, please? So as I mentioned, we have to make sure we have the programs, the organic recycling programs throughout already set up for businesses and for residents. And there's so those are some of the key dates there. Very important to mention that by 2024, that's when jurisdictions will be required to actually take enforcement. So the cities and counties are required to take enforcement on non-compliant entities. So on businesses and properties and residents that are not participating or participating in the wrong way, like contaminating organic waste, we're actually required to take enforcement. And that's really impactful because we have that ability, but we really have never used it. So we already have an ordinance that allows us to make sure that residents and businesses are recycling and diverting waste from trash disposal and from landfills. But this is the first time we'll actually be required to use it per the state standard and regulation. Can we go to the next slide? So like I mentioned, we have to provide the organic waste collection services. That means being able to put everything from green waste, yard waste, food waste, fibers, food soil, paper, and cardboard into your green waste cart or green waste, commercial green waste bin. They have to, actually the regulation requires that we have actual colors, which is great at standardizing colors. And we already do that here in Chula Vista: black for trash, green for organic waste, and blue for what's traditional recycling. We have to make sure that we also assess our current program and then also monitor as we move along. And then going back to the edible food recovery requirements. So we need to start evaluating and measuring how much edible food waste is being produced at larger entities like supermarkets, warehouses, and so the first requirement is for what's known as Tier 1 generators, and identifying who they are out there, which we have had already, and we're working with them as well to identify and we're already actually working with them to connect them with food recovery organizations throughout the Chula Vista and throughout the South Bay. So, and this is also very impactful. And I mentioned that earlier, we're as a jurisdiction are also required by the state law to purchase a certain amount of compost, mulch, and renewable transportation fuel. In this case, in Chula Vista, the requirement, actually it's the requirement throughout the state, that we are supposed to procure up to 0.08 tons per resident. So if you were to look at potential numbers that we might have in Chula Vista after the census, we're looking at say 300,000 residents. That brings up the number to over a little bit over 20,000 tons of compost or mulch that we are required to purchase or use in Chula Vista. So we're already in conversations with our Parks Department and our Public Works Department to make them aware of this requirement, and hopefully, not hopefully, but they'll definitely have to use this material. But it's for a good reason. They'll be able to see savings in water use and a lot of other benefits, erosion control, and so again, this law requires us as a city and every other city and county in California to purchase a certain amount of this material that's being produced, and it's also a market development effort as well. Can we go to the next slide? So a little bit more on what our requirements are. Obviously, record keeping and reporting requirements that we will be required to comply with. It involves some other departments which we are already working with. Again, the purchasing part of it as well, and how this material is being used and throughout the city and its operations. Can we go to the next slide? So in the case of Chula Vista, like I said, we have the three container program that's been in use, for decades now. And it's the most basic element of this regulation is that we need to provide this organic waste collection. Like I said earlier, we'll be able to put in Chula Vista, at least the current proposal is to be able to put organic waste, food waste, in addition to garden and yard waste in our green waste cart. Can we go to the next slide? And then the edible food recovery program, again, we need to assess capacity, inspect commercial generators for compliance. So we have to inspect, our staff will have to inspect supermarkets and warehouses to make sure they're not disposing of this food that either could be donated or at least kept for, definitely kept out of the landfill. And we also have to do education and outreach to these edible food organizations or edible food places and people that could be saving this food. Can we go to the next slide? So we also have education requirements. We are required to educate all businesses and residents, and that's what we're embarking on now. We're in the planning stages for a pretty robust education campaign, simplifying messages. We found that's the best. Make it simple. People understand with not a lot of busy graphics, more photos, and the important thing is to make sure people understand that we need to keep plastics out of organic waste, and another thing is keeping what's people consider biodegradable or compostable bags, because at this point there is no standardization for those. So our program will definitely address that and educate on just keeping all bags, regardless whether they say biodegradable or compostable, out of the green waste containers. And also, like I said earlier, Republic Services is here to help us as well, and they already are committed to help us to educate our Chula Vista residents and businesses. Next slide, please. I mentioned the procurement requirements. Something important to mention too is that there is a renewable natural gas procurement target that we could apply to this procurement requirement, except that renewable gas has to come from organic waste or be produced at landfills or a facility that converts it from disposal to renewable natural gas. So. And that's important to make sure to mention, because it's not just renewable gas, it has to be produced by those sources. Next slide, please. So another requirement here, and again, this is the Senate Bill 1383 is full of requirements, and we need to work with the county, in our case, the County of San Diego, to work on to see what our organic waste recycling infrastructure is, and if we don't have enough for our city, we need to actually plan and work with the county to make sure that we report to Cal Recycle on how we're going to meet this infrastructure requirement, and well, the county reports directly to the state. So we are required to work with the county and with the state on this. Although this reporting is a little bit more generous because we don't have to start reporting until 2025 for this, but just for for other cities and counties that don't have the infrastructure developed, there are going to have plans in place to make sure that they prove to the state that they're working towards creating this infrastructure. Next slide. So again, a little bit more of the same with by 2022, we need to make sure that we have the program available, but also that we could actually enforce on some of the participants that are not playing by the rules, I guess. And we need to identify what businesses are not complying, and actually provide those numbers to the state. And that's part of the requirement as well. And we have to make sure that we enforce on a lot of these the businesses that don't want to comply. Next slide. So again, we need to also inspect and make sure that not just people are participating, but also that the program itself is working correctly. And this again has to be reported to the state. We have to do route reviews. We have to do random checks, monitoring, randomly selecting containers, and reporting all this information to the state. So this is impactful. But we have to do it. It's part of the law, and we have to comply with it because it's part of what we have to do here. Next slide. We're almost done here. On the edible food recovery program, we also have to again inspect these businesses, and we also we could actually work with the county health department on this as well. They could provide some information as they do their inspections. So that's still on the works with the county, and they're developing a way to be able to provide some of that information to local jurisdictions. But this law recommends at least that we work with local health departments, and we're underway working with that. So final slide here, and this is the big one. The state of California has the right to enforce on jurisdictions that don't comply with this law. There are some waivers for like lower population. Obviously, we don't qualify for that. But they also allow you to have waivers for businesses that really don't produce a lot of organic waste. There's a specific number. But the reality is that even the smallest office in the city is going to have some type of organic waste related to their operation. So there's always a way that we could work with them to combine service or share service or get smaller containers, but it's going to be hard for businesses to actually get an exemption, because the reality is that we all produce organic waste at a certain point. So lastly, jurisdictions will be noticed. We'll have 90 days to correct issues. Cal Recycle will give us 90 days to correct. And in case there are some issues that we can't correct within that timeline, they actually are allowing up to 24 months to comply. But we have to prove to the state that we have some issues that don't allow us to comply, and they'll ask us to give them a plan on how we are coming up to compliance. So this could be everything from not providing education, not doing route audits, not doing reviews, and also not enforcing. So that's why I kind of save that for last, because that's also impactful. And if we don't comply, then we basically we could actually get a monetary fine and a fine and that we have to pay for. So we have to make sure that we plan on those things as well. So this concludes my presentation. If there's actually I wanted to give an opportunity to Michael Simonson to give us a bit of an update of how we're working. The city and Republic are working on presenting this soon. We'll come back to the commission to present on pricing and what the program entails. I gave you guys a little bit of a preview, but we'll have more specifics once the program is fully vetted. Michael, you there?
Yes, Manuel, I'm here. Thank you. And good evening, commissioners. I would just start off by saying that while this is a daunting task, I know with all my heart that together with the city of Chula Vista and with your help and others, we are certainly going to meet these mandates. And as Manuel was just talking about, the enforcement and potential outcomes, if you will, of that enforcement, I think the city of Chula Vista will be well positioned, and Cal Recycle in the state of California will look to Chula Vista as a model. And so I'm excited about that. So yes, we as a company have been preparing for this since the law was passed and Cal Recycle started to develop the regulations. That's been a couple of years now. Most recently, in the past 2 months, we've had 2 individual sessions, Republic Services and Cal Recycle, to go over the regulations, and Cal Recycle making themselves available to answer any and all our questions. So we had all our California operations on those calls. Here locally with Manuel and his staff and others at the city of Chula Vista, we've been preparing. We presented the city with our collection and processing plan earlier this year and have just recently received comments back from the city, and we will be addressing those comments the next month. So I believe we're very close to having a final draft plan, if you will. As Manuel mentioned, that I believe we'd be coming back to this body and then onto the city council. Manuel did mention, we'll be proposing that we use 3-cart system at residential, where we'll be asking the residents to mix in their food waste into the green waste carts or yard waste carts. And then, of course, at businesses, we'll be using source separated containers, and we'll be doing a ton of outreach and education beginning in just a month or two, actually January of 2021, to help educate all the businesses and residents of what's coming, and most importantly, trying to keep the contaminants out of this stream. At the Otay landfill, we have a composting operation. We are very close to having that fully permitted right now. It's a research operation, but we are with the county, and as soon as they approve the permit, it will go to Cal Cycle for final approval. That's the composting operation. We also have approval for a pre-processing operation at Otay, where we'll be depacking, if you will, food waste from businesses that may have contaminants in them or may have some sort of packaging. We'll be using a machine called the Thor, which literally is a depacking, and it separates the food waste from the contaminants. So again, it's a big lift, but one that we have been preparing for and will continue to prepare for, and I'm confident that we will be ready come January 1, 2022. And with that, I'll turn it back to Manuel.
Thank you, Michael. So next on the script is if any comments from commissioners or any questions, we could take some now before we go to a public comment period. So go ahead.
Who's on?
It's
okay.
This is John Richardson. I have 3 questions, I guess. One is, we toured the composting facility at Otay, and at the time, as I recall, we were told that there's no market for the material that's going through that particular facility. Are we creating now a situation we're going to dump more material with no market out there, or does this include changing some California regulations to allow that material to be used in California?
So not only are the cities required to purchase this material, but also state entities like state colleges, universities, in the case of Chula Vista, the Veterans Home. So they will be required as well to purchase an amount of that material. So that's creating a market for it. Companies like Republic and others are working on marketing this material to the ag industry. So the more and more this material will be produced, there'll be more of a market. So, but at this point, it's undetermined whether the market, how strong that market will be.
Well, the second question, there was a one-year slide that talked about a high diversion organic facility of some sort. With OTI scheduled to close around 2028, I understand. What's the plan with a facility to accommodate this material?
So in the high diversion facility, the mention of that on the slides actually refers to a facility that would actually be able to process both trash and compostable and organic waste. But that's that reference. But in the case of the future for OTI, there is plans to create a resource recovery plan, resource recovery park on that site that will still be able to manage this waste, and perhaps a transfer station to move the material to another facility. And this is the non-compostable, non-recyclable material. Is there anything you could add, Michael?
No, you're exactly right, Manuel. That is the plan. So the plan is, as the landfill closes, we'll still operate out of OTI. We'll have a transfer station for the solid waste, and we'll still be able to process the green and food waste and other materials.
And the third question, sir?
Yeah, basically, since this appears to be, and maybe it's just because I'm not familiar with it, a new requirement, kind of a new mandate. I know it was in 2016, but we're just getting started with it. Is there a reason why, and don't take offense, Michael, we don't separate this from Republic and actually build a program that's specific to it as opposed to having it with all of the trash collection and so forth?
Michael?
I'm sorry, I thought that was a question for you, Manuel.
Oh.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
Because you say don't take offense, Mike. Okay, yeah, okay, I understand. Well, the regulation was developed in 2018, and it's like I mentioned throughout the presentation, is not final yet. So it was a little bit difficult to plan for a program when that is not complete. Now, not as of I would say mid next year, we were told by Cal Recycle that the regulation will not change as of the beginning of what was developed at the end of the year last year. So now we are able to plan a little bit better on that. So is that the question, sir? Or
well, that's in part, but also there was allusion to a price adjustment, some sort of a recontract amendments. And the last time we went through that, we got into a number of questions about whether or not we ought to really look for some different methodology for making sure we got coverage, even potentially competitively bidding this process. And I think there were a number of issues that came up at that time, which if we're talking about now another amendment to the contract for a new process, that we ought to seriously consider taking a look at that option, so we actually know what the market actually can produce out there. The public service has done a great job for us. But with this kind of additional mandate, it's going to be a challenge. I think you admitted that. Maybe there's some other ways we can take a look at this stuff, and I think we ought to be open to that.
Yeah, actually, and to address that, we did hire another consultant to help us evaluate the plan that Republic gave us, and they did an evaluation of other programs throughout the state of similar makeup. Not just population, but also amount of tonnage that is disposed per different sector, and they came back with a plan that which we use to as we work with Republic, and that'll be part of what we present when we come back and we talk about pricing and all that stuff. So that's something that was evaluated.
Well, would you share that consultant study with this commission?
Yes.
At some point we're going to be asked to approve this, and I think we need to be educated.
Yeah, definitely. There'll be public record.
Okay, those are my questions.
Go ahead, Tina.
Okay, so I have a question for Michael. You mentioned you're going to begin educating in January of 2021, which is 2 months from now. You're going to be working with the businesses, educating the businesses and the residents. And how are you going to do that?
So we'll use multiple platforms in doing that, and we'll use some of our community partners as well as the city. But simply, so we'll do it through direct correspondence, whether it be bill inserts for those who are still getting paper invoices in the city, or electronically for those who are not getting paper invoices. We're going to do it through, well, this is all COVID dependent, mind you. If we're able to do in-person or Zoom presentations to the business community and other groups, we'll do that as well. We'll use social media, we'll use the local media. And if you have any other ideas, we are welcome to entertain those. I mean, for us, it only benefits us to get the word out and get as many people educated as quickly as possible. And we know, with just like anything, repetition is the key to this. So you'll see this all year long.
Okay.
So I'd like to also add that we'll be using our social media campaigns. Also, we'll be sending out mailers to our residents and businesses. Our staff will be visiting, like Michael said, pending health directives, the local businesses. Something really difficult that we find difficult to do will be assigning the program or assigning the service to multifamily settings and apartments and condos. So that's going to take a bit of time and legwork, but we're prepared to do it with our staff and also Republic Services staff.
You have such a small staff to begin with.
Well, we're
have a
lucky
challenge.
that we're lucky that we have the number of staff. There's other cities that have like 1 or 2 people that are managing this, so it will be really difficult. And then think about the city of San Diego, that they don't charge for trash, so they're going to be impacting their budget directly. There's been I can't recall the exact amount, but there's been quite a bit of money that has to be allocated for a program like this.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, now I have one more question. Oh, well, maybe 2 parts. You mentioned the depacking machine. Now, this is for mainly businesses. And how big is this? And is it going to be part of a new facility that you're building, or how does that work?
So to answer the first question, yes, it's for businesses. 2, yes, it'll be a new facility at the Otay landfill location.
Mm-hmm.
And you asked me how big it is. I don't know how I can give you. I don't have the dimensions right in front of me. I mean, it's a large piece of equipment. It's a bit large, heavy piece of equipment. What do I say?
I'm just trying to figure out, is it going to be able to handle the amount that Chula Vista produces just for the businesses alone? I mean, yeah, that's just mind-boggling.
Yes. I mean, we use the same type of machinery up in the Anaheim area. In fact,
Wow, that's big.
Came up with us once to take a tour so we could show them what was up. And yeah, so it's like, you've just got to manage. You've got to manage it, and not all the businesses are getting collected on the same day. So you do have the ability to do it.
And are you still having sorters on the other end helping to sort what comes out? Because I can't imagine a machine being able to pull out every piece of plastic, every piece of label that's on a fruit, that kind of stuff.
Well, the machine, like Michael said, we actually, a couple of us in our section toured the facility in Anaheim, and think about it as a giant garlic press that actually presses everything out. The organic material comes to the bottom. It gets collected as a slurry.
Okay.
And then the rest of it gets disposed of as landfillable trash. So we still have to do quite a bit of education because we want to make sure that a lot of recyclable material doesn't get in there as well. and also that the businesses are not just disposing of food that could be donatable as well. So yeah, so I don't remember I saw the permit, read the permit, I just don't remember the actual size, but it's I would say I don't even want to give a number. I'll reserve that information when we do the next presentation.
How about we can't wait to have a tour of it when it does come in.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so then one last thing. For the individual residential, are you going to be doing inspections, and are you going to be sorting through what they have produced?
We're also required to do both. We're actually required to do both. So we're required to do the flip lid program that we currently do now with the oops tagging that we call, and make sure we notify residents at a certain point after there's no compliance. We're required actually to do enforcement, and that's after 2024. But we have to do quite a bit of education, and also Republic Services drivers will be helping us with that. They do quite a lot more. They see a lot more bins that our staff would be able to see. So that's part of it as well. And just to make sure everybody knows, it's all food waste, not just like vegetables and organic stuff. It's all fats and meat and bones and all that kind of stuff that might go bad. So all that could get in there.
Yeah, that's going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Ed, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just curious. I know we were out there at that special meeting in June of last year at the landfill, and what changes have been made? I know at the time they had that little research project, and there was no market, and everything was being used as ADC.
Well, the change is that as of this year, we're not allowed to use that material as ADC or as alternative daily cover, we're allowed to use it, but we just won't get any recycle or diversion credit or recycling credit for it by the state. So currently, the landfill is not using any Chula Vista derived organic waste for cover at the end of the day. And that's what ADC is used for. It is used for some of the slope stabilization there at the landfill. So to answer your question, what has changed is that now, as we near the requirement here in 2022, is that Republic is much more serious about finding markets for this material and working with agriculture, local agricultural and soils engineers to be able to market this material a lot more. They were already doing it, but now with as the program kicks off, and there'll be a lot more of this material, not just from Chula Vista, but from other sources. There'll be that need to market this material a lot more.
So is there material being sold, and is there material leaving the landfill?
Some material is leaving the landfill. I don't know exact tonnage, but there is a soil engineering company there that produces different types of mulches, different types of soils that are needed. They have big contracts with Caltrans. So that tenant there, the landfill, is already utilizing a lot of this material as well.
Okay, because my main concern was, I mean, there's other regs besides AB 1383, and those have been on the books for a long time. And it's just, I mean, we were out there, and I'm just concerned on how serious it is and what the liability will be if we don't meet those regs. Will that be on us, or will that be with our contractor?
Ultimately, the way the law is written now, it's the responsibility, the liability is on the city of Chula Vista. Okay. But the contract does specify that the Republic Services, as a responsible partner, is supposed to help us meet these requirements.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No one? Well, thank you very much. Oh, did I hear someone?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much. As we mentioned earlier, we'll be coming back to the commission to bring the full program and pricing for adoption with the study that was done and comparison for evaluation before it goes to the city council Similar to the other program, the other time when we had that rate increase, it will again have to go to a public comment period, the 45 days, and then again go back to council to be adopted if there is not enough protest against it. So thank you very much for your time, and any questions you could always email me, and I'm here to answer them. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Michael and Manuel. And I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on this item before commission deliberation. Commissioners, as a reminder, please refresh the view on your screen to ensure new comments appear.
It looks like we have one more question from.
Sorry.
Yep, go ahead.
I was just wondering if it's possible to request that study prior to the weekend before the meeting in which it's going to be presented, to just have extra time to review it.
Yeah, we could do that. We could present that with a little bit more time than what we normally send.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can we start the timer?
Yes, just one moment, please. Sorry, having a technical difficulty, but it will be open in a moment. Yasmin, I don't know if you have it handy. For some reason, I can't get the slide to work.
Let me see if I can share. Do you see it?
Yes. And then you just need to, yep, there you go. Thank you.
Just a reminder to the commission that this is a info item, so there is no action to take. So once the 2 minutes are up, we could see the comments and evaluate from there. We received no comments.
Okay, do any of the commissioners have any comments or questions? Nope. Okay, then the next item on the agenda is item number 5 under informative information. items. Report regarding City of Solana Beach and the recent climate emergency declaration. Does staff have a presentation?
Yes, this is Colleen Wisniewski, Environmental Sustainability Manager in the Office of Sustainability. Yasmin, I believe you still have control of the presentation. So if you just want to pull up that one slide for this presentation, that would be great.
Give me a second. I need to find.
Awesome. So to just give a little bit of background while Yasmin pulls that up at the last second, since she had to quickly take control of the presentation. I just wanted to let you all know, I think it was Vice Chair Legaspi that had some interest in maybe learning a little bit more about what Solana Beach had done recently. So we were able to touch base with a couple of staff members from the City of Solana Beach late last week. And we got a little bit of the history of how this all happened. So we just wanted to share just some basics about what they did. And I have just one slide with a couple bullet points. Yasmin, I think that's, there you go. I think you're making it bigger. I think we're in weird presentation mode, Yasmin, but that's fine. If you just want to hit the bullet, yep, make it, I think there's two more. There you go. Okay, so real quick. So how this happened was the Climate Action Commission of the City of Solana Beach expressed an interest in potentially creating a climate emergency declaration. And so their chair took a first stab after some discussion. Their chair of their commission drafted the first version, and they based it on what other cities had been doing. So they didn't create this on their own. The original draft had a lot of information in there that over time maybe changed a little bit. So on our next bullet point here, the staff told us that there was several months of back and forth between the commission and city staff and the city attorneys to get to a final version. So there was definitely a lot of discussion, different versions and revisions of the draft declaration. And finally, kind of where I think they were getting a little bit stuck was that it made the most sense for the city to align this declaration with their current climate action plan. One of the things they talked about was all of the policies that this would align with should already be in something that's already created. So in their case, it was their climate action plan, instead of creating new policies that were sort of one-offs. So that's kind of where this, where it ended up with them. It aligned nicely with their current climate action plan. And again, it was a lot of back and forth. So this was approved by the Solana Beach City Council at the end of August this year. And one of the things they mentioned was that the public participation process was a bit challenging during COVID times, as we can imagine. Having these meetings is sometimes a little challenging as well. But so that's one thing that they mentioned. But kind of the big sticking point for them was aligning it to their climate action plan. So we got these documents from them late last week. I can send around there. If you haven't already looked online, Vice Chair Legaspi probably did because he had an interest in learning a bit about it. We can send these out in the morning, both the staff report that went to City Council, as well as the final version of the emergency declaration, so you can see what they did. And certainly there are other cities out there that have done this. This is just a recent one done in our region. So just wanted to maybe start a conversation or maybe pass it over to Vice Chair Legaspi, since he is the one that I think had a bit of interest in this. So I'll just pass it over, and staff is here to chime in if needed as well.
Okay, thank you. Yep, when I saw this, I thought, well, this might be of interest to our other commissioners. And there's also things that we can also add to it if we decided to do something similar. The cool thing is that our mayor did sign on to the Paris Accord, and it looks like the incoming president will do as well. So those are kind of something that we can add to ours if we did something like this. But I just thought it was kind of interesting. You know, it is an emergency. This issue with climate change, and maybe it would create some tension. Maybe it might, be helpful in the community. That's pretty much it. So I just thought it would be something to share with the other commissioners. And I don't know if anyone has any, I don't know if you've seen, it's, unfortunately, we don't have, it's online if you guys can check it out, the actual declaration. And I mean, it would pretty much set up really well because our working group and our climate action plan is pretty much mirrors what they're saying as well.
So I'd like to make a comment, and this goes out to comments I'd like to make before we go to the public comment and deliberation. The staff or commissioners have a comment, but I would like to make a comment is that I've read it over and I think it would definitely bring awareness, issuing emergency to the CAP with the community, especially because the community hears things left and right, but it's not an emergency. And I think this would totally bring awareness to the problems that we are currently faced with climate action challenge or climate action. And I think it's something that we should seriously consider. Anyone else have any comments?
This is Commissioner Baugh. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I haven't read it over, and I'll have to do that. And it sounds like if it aligns with your climate action plan, it's not creating anything new. So what I'm trying to really understand is what does it do other than become like a marketing technique to bring awareness to what already existed?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think I don't know that it's necessarily a marketing thing, but maybe it just brings it back, front and center to attention and kind of gives it that oomph. Corey is on the line as well. I don't remember when Solana Beach's climate action plan was adopted. Perhaps it was a few years ago, and this kind of brought it back to attention. Corey, do you happen to know that information?
Yeah, I believe their climate action plan was adopted in late 2017 or so. Or, sorry, no, probably closer to 2018.
And like I said, this took several months. I don't recall them mentioning when this process started. It was approved by council in August. I would assume several months before that is when this came to the attention. So.
But Commissioner Baugh, was that question also for the other commissioners?
It wasn't it Commissioner Legosky that kind of brought this forward. So I'm just, I guess, wondering what he was envisioning.
It was just to increase. The idea was just to increase awareness. That's all, and that's why I thought I would just share it. If it's something that the other commissioners are interested, I can work with Manuel and create a draft. I've thought about a couple of things that we can change on it. But that's really it. It was nothing more, but just increase awareness. Maybe the emergency in the text would, I don't know, get some people that otherwise aren't paying attention to it in our community. But that's pretty much it. Yes, we do have the climate action plan, and we do already have other measures, but it's just another extra item that might catch people's attention. Unfortunately, you still see too many people in our community that don't take it serious. That was a thing I think our outgoing chairman always was very concerned about. He really wanted to see our community be a community that when visitors drive through, they really know and really can see that we're very serious about that and didn't feel that it was something that was being displayed in our community. So it's pretty much just increased awareness.
Yeah, and I think that's this is Corey. I think that is a great idea and very noble goal. One thing that I will just remind commissioners about is that in early next year, the climate change working group recommendations are going to be coming back to this group. And so there will be, through that and, some really ambitious recommendations that aren't even in Solana Beach Climate Action Plan, like a climate neutral goal. And so, there's kind of some work already working its way through the commission into city council. And so, I think kind of where would this emergency declaration fit with that other work, or how would it best be combined into there? It could definitely be a nice component of that. But do just want to, give, as Commissioner Legaspi knows, as the chair of Climate Change Working Group, there will be those recommendations, and some of those also have the ability to kind of move the needle and to raise awareness as well.
This is Commissioner Baugh again. I think I'm maybe feeding off of Corey's thoughts, but I have nothing against having the emergency, declaration, etc. But I feel that perhaps the public is going to be inundated with a lot of things coming their way in the next, say, year, because we're going to start the education for the SB 1383 education about the organics. And then it seems like there's a lot that's really happening. People have to make decisions about the energy, the city taking over the energy, electricity production. Not using the right term for that, but there's another thing that I think people have to get up to speed with. And so I'm wondering if restating what we've already created in the climate action plan is just going to get really confused and lost with everything else.
Well, it's just a letter, in a sense. So, it's kind of like, we have a lot more to really add to it in a sense, and things that we're doing. And it's kind of like, I guess maybe it's just the competitiveness of seeing us versus Solana or other communities. But that's pretty much it. Yes, it's cool, but we're doing a lot of the things, and we can really show to everybody else on paper that we're by far way ahead in meeting this real actual emergency that we're dealing with here. It's upon us. It's just a thought. If the other commissioners were interested, I guess what we could do is I could get with Corey and Manuel we just have to make a couple of changes to it. And maybe bring it in the future if there's other commissioners that think this would be helpful.
And Chair, I don't know if you can see, there's another hand raised. Commissioner Rodriguez.
Thank you. So I haven't read the Solana Beach Declaration either. I will. But I see the declaration more as an opportunity to describe the problem. It's more of a problem statement, and the plan, that climate action plan, is how Chula Vista plans to address the problem. And so coordinating the two seems ideal, but I wouldn't expect much out of the declaration other than a concise way to motivate the action plan. I would be happy to go over that, and I think it would also be useful to do an inventory of the cities in San Diego County that have done so already.
And I think that Corey was going to look into that. I don't know if he had time. We spoke about it earlier this afternoon to see if other cities in San Diego had done something similar.
I wasn't able to find anything, and Solana Beach does tend to be a trendsetter in this area, but I believe they're the only ones who have signed on to it right now.
Well, maybe since I kind of brought this to everyone's attention, I wouldn't mind if we had a subcommittee on this, if a couple of other commissioners would like to help in drafting something like this and then bringing it back to the commission.
Okay, so, okay,
I would help. Sorry.
I'd help out.
I think we can put this on the agenda probably. I don't know that we can vote on that, but I think if there's an interest in a subcommittee, we could put that on next meeting's agenda. Sounds like there's already some interest, so that's
Okay.
good to hear. So we could put that on December's agenda if that's an interest. This is just an info item right now, so there's no major action happening. But we can, I'll put that right now on the list. And we can also send out, like I mentioned, the staff report and the final version of the declaration that was approved by council. We can send that out tomorrow, so you guys all have it.
Okay, sounds great.
Thank
Okay,
you,
so
Colleen.
thank you. Yes. So I would like to now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on this item. And as a reminder, please refresh, the commissioners, please refresh your view on your screen to ensure comments appear.
And just making sure Yasmin can show that again. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will pull it up right now.
Chair, we do have one comment in support. And if you would like me to read it, it does say that I support a climate emergency declaration in coordination with the new climate change working group CAP recommendation. When items are brought to the city council, it is important for the city council members and the public to have a visible goal to help us move forward with increased climate action in our city.
Perfect. Thank you so much for reading that. Do commissioners have any comments or questions? Okay, we will be putting that on the agenda for next month as to a subcommittee, creating a subcommittee, and maybe Carolyn would be interested in participating in that too. Okay. Let's see, other business, staff comments.
Hi, this is Colleen again. I just had a quick one. I wanted to let everyone know that during the month of October, all the city staff were invited to participate in the Energy Goals campaign. It was something our team's been working on since the beginning of the year. We had a consultant, the Energy Coalition, help us with this. It's something they've done previously with other agencies, including the Port of San Diego and other cities as well. So we just wrapped it up. It was a month-long sort of fun dashboard and platform where folks would log in. There were lessons they needed to watch, little quizzes they needed to take, and then there were fun uploading of photos of them doing certain energy and sustainability actions. It was pretty cool. We had over 120 participants from city staff join in and do it. There was a maximum amount of points you could get, which was 32. 20 people got that, including several department heads and folks from all over the city. All departments were represented in having participated. And if you think of the services the city offers, that's folks that work in the field, public safety, you know, folks like us that are sort of in offices, traditional kind of settings. So it was kind of an interesting across the board group of folks, and it was really interesting. Our consultant let us know, you'll be surprised who some of your top people are. And I was completely surprised by who's super competitive and who's really into motivating their colleagues to do sustainable actions. And there were prizes and raffles all along the way. And the final person from the finance department who won the overall team challenge, the individual winner was also from the finance department, and they won a Nest thermostat. So there were all these great sort of sustainable tools and things that folks could win by participating and doing different actions. So that all just wrapped up. We had a plan to be energy saving at work, and you would bring those ideas home, and here we are working mostly from home, and it's a hybrid thing. It all worked out. And I think folks, it was kind of a side benefit was that it gave folks kind of a sense of community and teamwork in this weird time where we're all feeling maybe a little bit disconnected. So it was kind of an added bonus we hadn't thought of originally. So that just wrapped up, and we're pretty excited about that. I'll pass it over to Manuel.
We had a compost giveaway event this past Saturday at the landfill. I don't have the actual numbers, but despite of the rain, I understand that quite a bit of residents went and picked up free compost for their garden. So that event is an example of what we'll have to do a lot more of come that SB 1383 requirement. And in addition to that, also we are developing a virtual master composter course that will be in coordination with the Living Coast Discovery Center. It's a little bit different than the normal composting workshop, where it's just a one class. This is a multiple class setting for the master composter, and there's a lot of hands-on that's required. So we're working with the Living Coast staff to help us develop that. It will entail folks actually making the compost live, basically, with maybe having somebody else hold their phone while they're doing it. So it's going to be interesting. I haven't seen anybody else do this, the full master composter class for online. For some of you that have taken this class, you understand how hands-on this is. So it's going to be interesting. And then also I saw a couple of emails from commissioners on this. And I wanted to bring up that there is going to be a Community Choice Energy Forum hosted by the City of San Diego on Friday, December 4th. It's a virtual conference. It's starting at 9:30, so I could send out information to everybody, so they could, if they wanted to attend, they could do so. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Chair's comments.
Chair, this is Dennis.
Oh, sorry, Dennis.
I had something I wanted to share with the commission. So I wanted to share some exciting news regarding the climate mayors. Back in August of this year, we received an invitation from Mayor Salas to join the steering committee. Climate Mayors is a bipartisan network of U.S. mayors. It was founded by Mayor Garcetti of Los Angeles. It initially started with 40 cities. It has now grown to 462 mayors across 48 states. And the steering committee consists of 25 mayors. So we have Mayor Phoenix, Austin, New Orleans, as well as San Diego. So Mayor Salas will be part of that group of 25. And their role essentially will be to act as the go-to mayors for interviews, op-eds, public speaking, essentially serve as the go-to folks in terms of trying to build that network. So we're very excited. We've been working with the climate mayors for a while. They're the ones who launched, you may have heard of the EV Purchasing Collaborative. Chula Vista was one of the founders when we purchased our electric vehicle. So we have a longstanding relationship. So we're excited that the mayor will be a part of this steering committee.
Excellent. Any more staff? Okay, thank you guys. So chair's comments, participating in the Bayfront Cultural Design Committee. We did have a meeting and we are currently in the process of drafting a letter to the Port of San Diego's board in regarding some of the concerns that the design committee has with the new Bayfront project designs. So I'll keep you guys informed of what's going on with that. Also, the South Bay Sustainable Community will be having a cleanup this weekend, and it will be kayaking and on land. We do have a limited number of people that could participate due to COVID and also the amount of kayaks. So if you're interested, you can go to our website, and you guys have the website. And we're also doing a walk at the Tijuana Estuary if you guys want to get out into nature. COVID style, bring your binoculars, and you should have fun at that. That's on Sunday at, I believe, 9 o'clock. One other thing is that as South Bay Sustainable Communities did do for this last month, it was the second month for all 5 neighborhoods, over 1,100 pounds of food scraps diverted from our landfills. And we processed over 350 pounds of compost that we got out of it. So just FYI, the neighborhoods are reaping the rewards and building great crops this year for fall. So commissioners, do you have any comments?
I would just like to.
Oh, sorry. Go for it.
You want me to go first? Yeah, I have a couple of items. One, the Wildlife Advisory Group met on October 21st. Covered 2 items. One, which I think would be very fascinating, is basically an effort which was funded since the meeting was held to restore the oyster beds in the bay. So basically, in Chula Vista, just north of the seawall that goes into the boatworks, will be where they're going to restore oyster beds in the Chula Vista area. There are other places in the bay, and that was funded since the 21st of October. So that's a good news project that's proceeding forward. The second one, basically, we have a presentation on the Amarra Day Condos. It's a project that kind of seems to be floating under the radar a bit, but basically the condo is going to be built right at the J Street Marina. And Pacifica gave a presentation, but they didn't come very well prepared. Essentially, they said the renderings and so forth will be updated despite the YouTube marketing program they have. Questions about bird strikes, mitigation, that's some of the effort that's in the agreement. They couldn't describe what they had done. And basically that's under the environmental department of the city of Chula Vista. So the environmental impact report that's for the Bayfront does include a project, but it's being managed by the city of Chula Vista. So I just want to, as representing the commission on the Wildlife Advisory Group, I think it's important to circle back and make sure that we're all together, because that project seems to kind of be floating a bit. Just wanted to kind of bring that up. There's a lot of discussion at the Wildlife Advisory Group about the need for clear definitions as to how that fits within the environmental impact statement, particularly for bird strikes and for the raptors, which there seem to be some of the earlier renderings just didn't seem to account for those kinds of issues. So that those are at the meeting, and then secondarily just a bit of a nip, I guess. This commission has approved a couple of items recently. One, the energy ordinance. And secondly, the Green New Deal. it'd be nice to get some feedback as to what the city council did or did not do with some of the things that we've sent forward to them. That, as well as what kind of where we stand with the ordinance. That was Oscar's kind of last great stand last year, trying to amend the charter. I'd just like to be able to make sure that some of these things we get some feedback, so we know whether or not the recommendation being made by this commission to the council is being acted on. What good we're doing and not doing in terms of the city policy. So I'd like just to bring that forward.
Okay, any other commissioners?
Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
I just want to commend South Bay Sustainable Communities Network and what they're doing out at the Bayfront. And I had a chance to attend the last two cleanups on the kayaks, and I'd just like to encourage any of the other commissioners to participate in that. It's a lot of fun, and it's just amazing to see the work and effort that Tina's doing with that new organization she's put together.
Thank
you. Yeah, I'll second that motion, Ed. I think it's a terrific project that she's doing. Great work.
Thank you. Okay. Any other commissioners? No? Okay, at 6:47 p.m. and I am adjourning this meeting to December 14th, 2020, the next regular meeting of the Sustainable Commission in conference room C101 in Building A at City Hall, Chula Vista, California. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.